Howdy. How is everybody? Whoa, that is super bright. I have to fix all that. Oh, it's been a crazy couple of days, everybody. I just wanted to provide everybody an update on health. I'm doing good. I'm doing just fine. I've been at home since the beginning of the week. And in terms of like coronavirus updates, it's still pretty chaotic here. 2 more states have declared emergency, New York and California. Although I think the response by California state officials has been panic-inducing, kind of unnecessarily so. Latest numbers says it's killed more than 3,400 people and infected over 101,400 people. That's according to CNN's tally about 2 hours ago. The vast majority of that is in mainland China. 72 state and local public health labs around the country are doing coronavirus testing, and that's all across the U.S. And the U.S. cases now total 400. I think it's a little more than that. This is from the CDC, and as well as like state and local governments that have been putting up data. Oh, what else? 49 cases from citizens from Wuhan, and the Diamond Princess at 46. Like recently discovered since I think Friday. Today's Saturday. According to CNN's health tally of the U.S. cases, there are dedicated testing in the U.S. through public health systems, and that brings the total virus cases up to 400. This includes presumptive positive cases that tested in a public health lab, and that's pending confirmation from the CDC, but they've come back positive at least early on. So Washington State, where am I at? Right now, we're at 102 cases with 15 fatalities. Major corporations are all producing statements for working from home. Some for the entire month of October, including my own. University of Washington suspended classes. Some of the community centers are closing down, especially on the east side. And, public health. To that end, the King County's entering the final stages of purchasing a hotel. I talked about that last update. What it's for, a little more light, has been kind of shown. It's basically to house coronavirus patients that don't have the means to self-quarantine. And then 14 more modular housing units have arrived from the state of Texas to hold up to 112 people, as well as I think they put enough to hold another 72 or 80 people in Marysville. So it's been pretty crazy. Like the state of everyone here is like bordering kind of, I think, unnecessary panic. Like a high degree of concern for sure. But like I stated last time, I'm not going to feed into the news hype about the coronavirus cases. And, other than to say there's some good information in there in terms of like washing your hands frequently, wiping stuff down, and trying to avoid, large public gatherings. But they've canceled a lot of stuff. There's a bunch of conferences, including Seattle Comic-Con, that's been canceled. South by Southwest might actually cancel, although Facebook pulled out of that event, and so did another big company. I can't remember. So definite cause for concern. I will be working from home for a long time. I still feel fine. I'm watching and keeping a close eye on some of my coworkers that have been sick. Especially if there's like any coronavirus positive test results that come back, then I'll be a little more concerned because I have a pretty weak immune system as it is anyway. We discussed that before. But overall, like most of the fatalities have been older folks or people with pre-existing medical conditions. So the statistical probability that even if I were to test or generally, if people were to test positive for coronavirus, ending in a fatality seems relatively low. It doesn't mean that it's not going to suck. It also doesn't mean that you can just be willy-nilly about it. You got to keep your own health and safety in mind. So I just wanted to I told everybody I'd give you an update. So what else? Channel updates. That's a good thing to talk about. I had a blue screen of death last night on my PC. It just said fatal error or fatal critical process died. That's what it was. Critical process died. And I had a bear of a time trying to essentially reformat my primary hard drive. The good news is my computer has multiple drives in it. I should do a PC update since I added more hard drives to it since the original build information. But essentially, all of my applications that are very memory intensive applications are stored on my main drive, which was a M.2 NVMe formatted drive. So it's like the little stick of gum. And God damn it, they're fast. I can run applications really quickly. One of which is what I principally use to edit my podcast and videos for this channel was Adobe Premiere Elements. And I had a lot of customization written into the application files because it allows me to maneuver through like higher quality, like rendering in higher quality formats by taking an overlay and applying it with override preferences to the entire project and then starting to import video. So essentially, I don't lose any pixels when I'm in there. I turn everything up to like, 4K, super high saturation type of stuff. And then there's a few like effects, but I don't really use the effects that often. Anyway, all of that was where my application lived on my main drive and it died. So when I reformatted that, I didn't lose any of my content because I store those on different storage volumes and stuff. So all my important stuff is there. It's just a pain in the ass when you have to like re-download, your Spotify's, your Discords, your Adobes and things like that. So it's kind of brought me to a point where I own a copy of Premiere Elements 15. I had a lot of customization in there, and I could re-download that and rebuild all of those like overlays and custom templates and things like that I was able to do. Or I could go up to CC Pro. And I think I'm at least going to trial the CC Pro. And what I'm hoping to use that for is a lot of the color LUTs packages that they have are going to be super, super handy to apply over the project. So I think I'll have way better color correcting in my videos going forward if I use that. And in its basic raw format, it will be easier to navigate because it's within the same ecosystem. But it's big. It's like learning a new language, kind of having to go through that. So I've been very reluctant, mostly because it is very expensive. Like, my dollar cost averaging was like, okay, well, if I'm editing audio only on a podcast, it takes me almost no time to do. But video and audio together for like vlogs and things like that, that's a little tougher. It takes a little more time, and I think this will help in a lot of different ways, but boy, is it expensive. It's like super expensive because I'm not monetizing my channel and all that stuff. So I don't know. They come out with a trial that you could use. I'm going to try that out and see if it's worth, paying for and going forward with. The other thing I think I'm going to like about it is if I do a shit ton of work on, like, say I'm audio leveling something and I get the exact sound that I want, and I get, eliminate background noise and work all the peaks and really get into the audiophile stuff. I believe it lets me set it as a preference. So I can literally just grab that as a preference and apply it over the top of future audio files and stuff like that. And it should apply that, like, basically work once, do it over and over again, make it repeatable. versus Premiere Elements where I don't get to do that. I have to do each of those individually. So, the shit thing is I spent a decent amount of money being in that ecosystem. I bought 13 and then I upgraded it to 15. And that's where I was living for a bit. So I'm at the crossroads a little bit. I have a new NVMe drive coming. I think I'm going to install that either tonight or potentially tomorrow, and then build from there. I might just throw all of it away, start with a new drive, figure out how to get more and more of everything. Creative Cloud allows me to use services that are always updated. It's the latest and greatest updates and stuff like that. But I also already own a platform that for my use case gets me there, so I'm not sure I want to step into the, CC Pro quality editing. I'm not a very talented editor either, to be honest. I do a lot of cheats and quick cuts and things like that make life a little easier because that's just the limitations of the skill set. So I'm interested there. If you guys do use CC Pro on YouTube or for, wherever you post your videos, holler at me and let me know if it's worth the jump, especially if you're coming from Premiere Elements. Because it's not a very feature-rich, robust, package, but it is a complete package, and I own the license for it, and it's mine, and I can just download it to new computers all the time. But if I do CC Pro, I've got to, essentially pay a subscription model, or I think they let you pay, I think it's like $250 a year if you pay it all at once, or $20 a month or some shit. So I don't know. The flip side is if the convenience factor is good and I'm producing audio content every week and I can say templatize the sound that I like over the top of the raw file, and it just automatically snaps it to the exact specifications that I want, that might be worth it. But I don't know. Also, if you're interested in the podcast, we're everywhere now, including iTunes. Our thumbnail doesn't work in iTunes for some reason, so we have to work on that. So that's kind of shitty. But the podcast is called Pathway, the number 2, and then Being Average. So if you want to hear me talk a little more unscripted and in long form conversation, we're having a good time over there, and it's been a lot of fun. So feel free to check it out. Otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going a little stir crazy in the house. So if the weather gets a little nicer, i.e. a little drier, I'm probably at least going to pop out to stretch my legs a little bit, maybe go for a bike ride. I'm just not really interested in going places where there's a ton of people and all that stuff. I'm just trying to stay cautious without inducing any form of panic. You know what I mean? Or trying to buy into any other forms of panic that I hear from other folks. So in terms of that, I've been in the house since the top of the week. And so far, I still feel fine. I haven't been to work. I don't intend to return to work. I'll be working from home. Mine is one of the companies in Seattle that encouraged everybody to work remotely if it was at all possible to do through the end of the month. So it's a new adventure, but I've been kind of stuck at home for a bit, and I haven't really gone anywhere. I'll have to go to the store next week too, so we'll give you an update on what that looks like. But in terms of the coronavirus cases, especially in Washington, it does seem to be getting much worse. So hopefully some of these measurements reduce the spread of the virus, and or that we get some sort of vaccination for it pretty soon, because it's pretty emotional here in Seattle. I'm not going to lie. So again, and I talked to a few people about this. Mostly the worst of it is people with pre-existing health conditions and the elderly, like I said, but it's still not something I'm going to take super lightly, being one of those people that has problems with their immune system anyway. So wash your hands, be cautious, but don't don't buy into the panic. Don't be like super fearful of, oh my God, I was around somebody who was sneezing and, it's sudden panic time. I don't think there's any need for that. Yeah. It slowed down my ability to create more content, that's for sure. Not really leaving the house all that much. So we'll probably go ride around for a little bit, blow off some steam if the weather gets nice. It's supposed to stop raining at least tomorrow for a little bit. So we'll see if I can get something out. But I am doing well. I appreciate everyone that reached out. I was a little nervous. I'm still a little nervous, but I'm not like in a state of panic. I don't think anyone should be. But for what it's worth, I promised you guys I'd give you an update. Here it is. We're doing good. We're groovy. I will keep you posted if anything changes from there, but holler at me, let me know, especially content creators that use Adobe CC. I'm like very interested in, is the juice worth the squeeze in terms of how much it costs to have access to those features? And hopefully it's not a huge learning curve. So what I might do is download the trial or sign up for a trial, like limited run thing. I'll throw some content in there. I'll try and critique it and see if I have a notable difference. And then I have a new drive coming for the computer. So before I like reinstall stuff or make a final decision, I'll probably install that this weekend and then, put Windows on it and all that stuff, get back up to running. Cause I think one of two things happened with that error. I think either I got a bad Windows update or something, and I just wasted money on a new hard drive and don't need one after all. Or usually that comes from downloading some type of software, which I haven't done since I installed my new audio card. I have a external DAC, and that's all for the podcast. But I got that in January maybe. So I don't know. I had 2 blue screen fails where it closed maybe a month ago. And they were like back-to-back days. And my computer was able to self-recover. What does piss me off is my entire recovery partition for Windows was not found. It just did not work. So I was like fucked when this thing went down. Otherwise, I haven't had anything new. So it's either one of those two things or my hard drive's going bad. So it's 2 years old. I've loaded and erased a lot of big content on it, and it's NVMe, which is kind of a newer form factor. So it's lightning fast, but I knew there'd be maybe some stability risk because it's not as tried and true as an SSD, which is also not as tried and true as a serial ATA drive, but it is fast as shit. Like it boots Windows in under 10 seconds. It loads and runs applications from dormant or from closed to open really quickly. And it's worth it if you don't pile everything into the same hard drive. So most of my important shit was already safe from the drive failing, but I don't know. It seems to be working fine. It's been stable. I haven't had any problems with this new install since last night when I was working on it. So, and we're back on YouTube Live. So hopefully all this stuff works out. My mic and camera seem to be working fine. We'll see how this video turns out, I guess. But yeah, otherwise, I'm going to try it out maybe. But if you guys think it's really worth it or have some tips and tricks and hints, I mean, drop me a line. I love it. I'm interested in learning how to be better at that stuff anyway. Trying to deliver better content, both video and audio. And again, if you're interested, Pathway to Being Averages are kind of a longer form conversation with me and a friend of mine. And we're going to get into some cool topics pretty soon. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. And I think that's probably it for an update. I'm well. I'm nervous, but I'm well, and I'm not panicking. I don't think that's going to solve anything. So anywho, I appreciate you guys swinging by. I know this one's a little shorter than my last one, but you guys have a great day, night, whenever you see this. Deuces.